It is time for the 23-24 Premier League predictions. I have done the Championship, and now it is time for the Premier League, because I put out a poll on Twitter whether to do Premier League or League One first, and well, I listened to you lot, and I'm going to do the Premier League first, so League One will be later on probably this next couple of weeks. So, I'll be going through 1 through to 20 in the Premier League. Again, the usual trigger warnings. If you're offended by any of this because I put your team below expectations or your expectations, so if I put, I don't know, your team in the relegation zone when you think they should be probably mid-table, that's fine. That's your opinion. It's all subjective. It's all very, very subjective. It's my interpretation of what's going on in the club, my interpretation of your club's transfer window, your club's dealings in terms of outgoings as well, because in the Premier League there are a lot of outgoings at the moment, the Saudi League being so prominent. So, yeah, just don't take any offence to it. If you're going to comment something lazy and needless, like I have an agenda against the club, I really don't care. I really don't. I honestly have no real drastic opinions on the Premier League. As you can see, I am a Bristol City fan. I have no real opinions on the Premier League. Bristol City are not in the Premier League. So, yeah, it's just don't get offended. Please don't get triggered. Don't comment anything needless, lazy, abusive in the comment section below, because, frankly, I'm not going to bother responding to it, and I don't really care. So, without any further ado, let's get on with the Premier League predictions. In 20th place and rock bottom of my list, I'm very sorry, Luton fans, but I have gone with you. There is a general consensus that Luton will struggle in the Premier League. And to be fair, it's gonna be hard for them. There's a financial disparity between them and the rest of the other clubs. Really, it's gonna be a massive challenge for them. They've brought in Ryan Giles, they've brought in Tai Chong, two players who excelled in the Championship last season, and that's I quite like that from them. They've brought Cheo Ogbene in on a free, which is a low risk kind of Luton-esque signing. Mads Anderson's coming from Barnsley, and if this was a Championship club, I'd be going, well done, that's some great business. But it's jumping up 2 leagues, which is always a bit of a challenge. Issa Kabore's come in on a loan deal from Manchester City. We're unsure about him. He's been on loan in France and Troyes, so it's going to be an untested bit of business there. They haven't really lost anyone significant. They've made Marvin Sakamba a permanent deal, which is actually a huge bit of news for them. They need more additions. It's very evident they need more additions. If Rob Edwards is given the right backing in terms of what they can leverage in terms of financial spending, then I think Luton should be competitive-ish, and they should make the Kenny a real tough place to come to. You know, that compact nature of the Kenny is going to be a really hard place to go to for many teams who are predominantly possession-based, predominantly used to dominating the ball against teams lower half of the Premier League. It's going to be a challenge for them, and a lot of the teams this Premier League campaign are going to be dominant on the ball, so it's going to be very important that Luton make the Kenny a hard place to come to. But I just don't think they have enough quality in the squad at the moment to survive in the Premier League, and that's why, unfortunately, Luton fans, I've got you rock bottom. In 19th place, and another team that came up from the Championship last season, and I've got Sheffield United. Now, there are some major concerns for me with Sheffield United. I think that home crowd at Bramall Lane is going to be a massive part. Some concerns are, for me, Paul Heckingbottom. And now, you could say, well, he did a good job getting them out of the Championship last season, but really, it was all kind of already laid for him for 5-6 years of previous work under Chris Wilder. Savici Kanovic didn't work out in the first year, so Heckingbottom came in, they improved straight away because he just went back to what they knew, and he kept that core again, added a bit more quality. Ahmadosic, brilliant, a bit of quality, James McAtee, Tommy Doyle, so he did well to replace Morgan Gibbs White. It was massive for them, but mainly he went back to what Chris Wilder implemented into the Sheffield United squad so well, and that kind of got them up because that quality was already there. They've kept hold of Sander Berger, it looks like, and Iliman Ndiaye moves to Marseille, is kind of still in the balance. So if they keep holding them to, I think Sheffield United have more of a chance of being competitive in the Premier League. So far, they've brought in 3 players from abroad. Yasser Larouchi's come in on a loan deal from Troyes. Anders Ben Slimane has come in from the Danish league, and Benny Traore has come in from the Swedish league. So some unknown quantity for Premier League fans. If things get going, Sheffield United, and they really make home form crucial, and they really make it, a fortress, that Bramall Lane, I can see it being a similar situation to Luton, where they make their home grounds a really hard place to come to, make it an intimidating atmosphere, and it will be hard for teams to come there and play their stuff. So Sheffield United need to be aggressive in how they play, and I think they'd probably be competitive. But at the moment, similar to Luton, I just don't see enough quality in there to stay up in the Premier League. In 18th place, and a team I've got falling quite a lot from last season, and that's Wolves. Wolves have been comfortable in the Premier League for quite a long time. Nuno Santo, a couple of European finishes. I just don't see the quality in there right now to survive in the Premier League, and the club off the pitch is a mess. They can't even afford 25 million for Alex Scott, supposedly. A huge bunch of players have gone out, notably Ruben Neves, Raul Jimenez, Diego Costa, Nathan Collins as well, and they've recently lost Ryan Giles to Luton as well. Connor Cody's gone out, who, even though he spent his final season at Everton, was again a massive figure for so long in that Wolves dressing room. It's going to be really hard for Julian Lopetegui to replace him. So far, they've brought in Matt Doherty and Tom King on free transfers. Doesn't really inspire me. If Wolves get going, Lopetegui's a good tactician. He can make things work. I'm just not sure they at the moment are stable off the pitch enough, and there have been rumblings about Lopetegui's future as well. I'm just not sure Wolves are stable enough to stay in the Premier League. And with other teams possibly improving, I'm just not sure that Wolves are good enough to stay in the Premier League. In 17th place, and a team I've just got surviving for another season, and that's Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest did very well last season to survive. In order to survive again, I think they need to make the City Ground a fortress. They did that last season, some very good results against some very big teams. Liverpool they beat, Arsenal they got draws against Man City and Chelsea, I believe, as well. So there have been some good results at the City Ground. They also need to pick up more points away from home. They had one of the more poor Premier League away records in the whole division. They have made some couple of new additions to the squad, and they have made Chris Wood a permanent deal as well. Alanga's come in from Man United, who's an exciting youngster. Olaine has come in on a free to just, I suppose, add some squad depth to both full-back positions. So, have been some sensible pickups so far. Need to make more additions to tailor-made the Steve Cooper style of play, because last summer it was all more replacing all the players that went out and just basically filling out the squad. This summer has to be more balanced and more concise in the way they recruit players, and I think they will. And I think they will do that, and I think they will survive yet again. I've got Nottingham Forest in 17th. In 16th place, and another team that just about survived last season, and that's Bournemouth. Bournemouth actually survived quite comfortably towards the back end of last season under Gary O'Neill. Obviously, the most notable piece of news coming out of the Cherries is that Gary O'Neill has been relieved of his duties. They've brought in Andani Iraola, who's the Rayo Vallecano manager over in Spain. He was a highly rated manager over there, led Rayo Vallecano to a 9th place finish, I believe, in La Liga. So there is some excitement about the new manager. And in my opinion, if you can upgrade on a manager who will bring better results, despite however well the previous manager did, I'd say go for it. If the new manager can attract more players, attract better quality players than Gary O'Neill, go for it. I'd say they brought in Hamad Junior Traore back on a permanent deal, which I think is a massive boost to Bournemouth. Justin Kluivert's been brought in from Roma. Romain Favour has been brought in from Lyon, but then sent back on loan to Lorient. It's just a bit of a weird deal because I think he's quite highly rated in France. Milos Kerkez has been brought in on a permanent deal for about £15 million from AZ Alkmaar over in the Netherlands, and Enoch Radu has been brought in on a loan deal from Inter Milan. So there have been some additions which are, people who are highly rated across Europe. So this is going to be, I'd say, an exciting window in quite a while for AFC Bournemouth. They've obviously lost Jefferson Lerma, which is a massive loss for them. But if Bournemouth can get things going pretty quickly under Iraola, I think they will survive yet again. Now, in 15th place, I've gone with Everton. Now, Everton have been in a relegation battle for the last couple of seasons under under Frank Lampard, under Rafa Benitez, and now Sean Dyche as well. So it's going to be a tough job for Dyche to kind of move away from that, because there has been this mentality around the club that, it's not going well and it all kind of falls apart once the momentum goes. But Dyche is a motivator. He is a really good manager, and he obviously was famed for his job at Burnley, but I really like him. I think he did a really good job just back in last season keeping Everton up. So there has to be now a sense of progression at Everton, in my opinion. They've brought in Danjuma, they've brought in Ashley Young, 2 good signings for me. So they have to now start pushing on. As with Vegovic, Ellis Sims, Yerry Mina, I suppose the notable departures, not really massive, in terms of what they did for the club last season. Financial constraints are still there, but I think Everton should improve under Sean Dyche, and I think that's the only reason I've got them improving. If they had anyone else in charge, I'd say Everton probably in around 17th, 18th place, but because they've got Sean Dyche, I'm pushing them up to 15th. In 14th place, and I've got Fulham. Now, I've got Fulham dropping quite a bit from the top half last season. However, this would have been much worse for them if both Alexander Mitrovic and Marco Silva both left for Saudi. However, it does seem like Marco Silva's set to stay, and Mitrovic is going to go to Saudi. So, Marco Silva staying is crucial to Fulham, because over the last 2 seasons, the squad has been tailor-made for him, and the style of football they play is very unique. So, it's going to be hard for anyone who were to set to replace Marco Silva. For Marco Silva, though, it's going to be a hard job to replace Alexander Mitrovic, and his output has been ridiculous. Raul Jimenez has been brought in from Wolves, in the past has been a really good goal scorer, but since his injury, his form has fell off a cliff. Calvin Bassey's been brought in from Ajax for reportedly £20 million, so it's a big signing, but he's been highly rated up in Scotland with Rangers and performed really well in that Europa League run, I remember. So I think Fulham are dropping a few places, but I think they'll be stable enough. They've got enough quality in there, and people who were really good last season, Joao Palhinha, Harrison Reed, Andres Pereira, Willian, Harry Wilson, Kenny Tete, some really good players in there who were really good and really comfortable in the Premier League last season. I think they'll have enough to more than stay up in the Premier League. In 13th place, and the masters of mid-table in the Premier League, and that is Crystal Palace. It seems like they've been here for so long. It's literally 13th, you think, of Crystal Palace. It's really, really ridiculous. Well, Roy Hodgson has been reinstated as the manager for another season. His good work at the back end of last season has been rewarded with a 1-year contract. To be honest, though, I think they would have survived with Patrick Vieira in charge anyway. I think there's a really tough run of results. They've brought in Jefferson Lerma, which is a good addition to the squad, and I really like Jefferson Lerma. They've lost Wilfred Zaha, which is an absolute massive blow. He's been part of the club, he's Crystal Palace DNA, really. He's gone to Galatasaray. So this is going to be a really hard job for Hodgson and the recruitment team to replace him. If they can get some of the output, though, I think they'll be fine. I think Hodgson has announced, I think the players are experienced now, and they think they have enough in them to survive and finish mid-table once again. In 12th, and falling a few places, I've gone with Brentford. Now, Brentford have made 3 additions for a lot of money. Kevin Shard has been brought on a permanent deal after his loan last year. And Nathan Collins has been brought in from Wolves, and Mark Flecken has been brought in from Freiburg as well. They have lost Ivan Toney for a lengthy period of time, which is going to be a huge loss for them. But I think Brentford were fine without Toney last season, when he had suspensions and injuries and whatnot. So I think they can cope without him, and I think they will, despite regressing a few places due to the quality of other teams. I think Brentford should be fine. If David Raya goes, that's going to be a huge loss for them. But if the money comes in, they can reinvest that well, and they've already brought in Flecken, as I mentioned, who is going to go straight in there, in my opinion. So, in my opinion, Brentford should be fine. I think they should be safe, and I think they'll probably finish in the mid-table region once again. In 11th, I've gone with West Ham. Now, West Ham, the key departure there is obviously club captain Declan Rice. Declan Rice has been so crucial to West Ham over the years. They haven't really made any additions so far. I mean, the season's over closed, and the time the new need to embed players in, it's going to be tough for David Moyes to kind of replace and plug the holes. But once that happens, and the fact that in the Europa League, once again, there's a feel-good factor about the club after you winning the European Conference League, was it? last season. So there is some good feeling around the club, and I feel that should carry them. Despite knowing coming so far, I think they should be fine. I think David Moyes' stability at the club and the fact that the players know him quite well, I think they should be fine. I think they will have enough quality to finish in that mid-table bracket once again. And I think they should be focusing on that Europa League run, because last time they were in the Europa League, they got to semi-finals, got knocked out by Frankfurt. I'm sure they want to go a couple of steps further and win the thing. In 10th position, and I've gone with my final newly promoted side, and that's Burnley. Now, Burnley were absolutely brilliant last season. They romped the league and were comfortable, deserved winners in the end. I watched them at Ashton Gate, and they were a cut above Bristol City and were brilliant. Lawrence Vigouroux, Dara O'Shea, Nathan Redmond, James Trafford, Michael Obafemi, Jordan Bayer. Those are the players we kind of know and are, going to probably go straight into the team, apart from maybe Michael Obafemi. Some other players which are foreign and kind of unknown to us, they're going to be, exciting and fun to watch, which is kind of what we expect to come from Burnley, really. Some really good foreign business, especially the Belgian market last season, the Championship. Really good arrivals there. Jacob Brun-Larsen's come in on a loan from Hoffenheim. Luca Colli-Osho has come in from the Espanyol system. Zeki Amdouni has come in from FC Basel. So there are 3 players there which we don't know, but I'm sure Burnley have done absolutely everything they can to analyse them. And in my opinion, the feel-good factor about the club and the way they play football under Vince Kompany, I think it's going to translate very easily into the Premier League, because a good, high-pressing, aggressive, lovely, just good on the eye football is going to cope well in the Premier League. And that's why I've got Burnley to finish 10th. In 9th position, and a team I've got dropping 3 places from last year, and that is Brighton. Brighton did immensely well to finish in the Europa League places last season and were brilliant and really good under Roberto De Zerbi and Graham Potter as well. They've brought in James Milner, they've brought in Maida Hood, they've brought in Joao Pedro. Those 3 names are, we get quite used to in European football. But Verbruggen and Igor Julio, however, I'm not so sure about. But we have history with Brighton, don't we, about players who are foreign and European, and we're not sure about, but they will probably be very good. And for the fees they've dropped on him, Igor Julio 14 million and Bart Verbruggen about 18 million. It looks like they should be going pretty well in the Premier League. I think Brighton are going to be, once again, a pretty stable club, along with the quality they already have. I know Alex McAllister and potentially Moises Caicedo going out are going to be, big misses, but I think they should be fine in terms of replacing them and then kicking on and finishing in the top half once again. In 8th place, I've gone with Spurs. Now, I was contesting between Brighton and Spurs for 8th place. I know it's not a great position to argue for, but the only reason I've got Spurs ahead of Brighton and Postecoglou, I really highly rate him, and I think he's a really good manager, but that Spurs team and that club is a mess. Harry Kane looks like he's going to be on his way out. The squad is imbalanced. I'm not sure how many defenders are going to be actively available. They need a centre-back, and they need one quickly. So that's the only reason why I've got Spurs ahead of Brighton, is because of Ange Postecoglou. I think he's a really good manager. I think he'll improve them in the long run. But at the moment, I've got Spurs in 8th. In 7th place, I've gone with Aston Villa. And Villa finished 7th last season, so this may be deemed as, well, that's not very much progress. But they have actually improved the squad. They haven't really lost anyone major, and 3 massive additions have come in. Yuri Tielemans, Pau Torres, and Moussa Diaby will go straight into the first team and improve that team massively. So, in my opinion, Villa will probably become a better team, but the competition in the top 7 is quite stiff. And the fact I've got them predicting, to hold off Spurs and Brighton is quite an achievement in itself, really. So it's going to be tough for Villa to, crack that top 6. But with the teams I've got improving and, just got better quality than them, I don't see them cracking the top 6 this season. But again, if Unai Emery is kept in as manager, I think they should be getting a European place at least. In 6th place, and a bit of a controversial one for some, I've got Man United. Now, Man United have brought in 2 players, really. I'm not counting Johnny Evans, I'm sorry. Andre Onana and Mason Mount from Chelsea, which weakens them slightly. So this is going to be interesting to see how they both, get in. I think Onana will be Erik ten Hag's first choice. I'm just interested to see how Mount fits into that Man United team. It's going to be a tough battle for United. I'm going to say there are 4 teams who are probably going to, battle for that top 4 position. And comparatively right now, if you told me, well, do they have a better manager than those 4 teams? Probably not. Do they have a better squad? Probably not. So that's why I've got Man United in 6th place, which may be deemed a failure, but it's going to be tough for them to, recreate the 4th place finish they managed last season. In 5th position, and I've got Arsenal. Now, Arsenal were, I don't want to say lucky, but they were quite fortunate that they hit their peak and other teams kind of hit their low, notably Liverpool and Chelsea. They were really poor, weren't they? So this is going to be a really tough ask for Mikel Arteta to push once again for the top 4 places. I think they'll push. for the top 4 places because I think Mikel Arteta is a good manager. They've brought in Declan Rice for a lot of money, Kai Havertz for a lot of money. So they have kind of improved the squad slightly. They haven't really lost anyone major. I suppose Granit Xhaka's kind of been a captain there for a while and been a leader. I think Jurgen Timber's a really good signing from Ajax as well. So I think Arsenal have improved the squad, but other squads are going to regress to the mean, and also they have improved quite a lot themselves. So that's why, unfortunately, Arsenal fans have got you missing out on the top 4. Now, probably the most chaotic out of the top 6 clubs, but by far probably one of the more exciting ones as well, and that's Chelsea. I've got Chelsea in 4th. They have brought some good players in, Nico Jackson, Christopher Nkunku. I really like Angelo. They've brought in from Brazil as well. A lot of players have come in, which is a high risk, but also incredibly high reward strategy. Mauricio Pochettino is a good manager, but he showed at PSG that in an environment that is filled with egos, he can crumble a little bit. And I think Chelsea's done well this season and this summer to push out a lot of the players who are not going to play and just take up high wages. They have to cut on the squad, and they've done that. They've taken a lot of the players away. Pulisic, Aubameyang, Ampadu, players who are not going to really start for them and just going to take up, a place in the squad. So I think Chelsea's done well to get rid of those players and brought in some good quality themselves, who I think will do well for Poch. Concern I have is how are Chelsea going to cope in a pressure situation if they have to come up against teams I've just mentioned, Man United, Arsenal, and it's tough for them as to the end of the season, and it's in a proper top 4 battle. How are they going to cope? I'm not too sure. This squad and that dressing room may be a bit fragile, but I'm trusting Mauricio Pochettino. I think he's good enough to get Chelsea and that squad, which is really good, into the top 4. In 3rd place, and the team actually got bumped up 1 place, and that's Newcastle United. I've been Newcastle have recruited quite well so far. Sandro Tonali is obviously the main star player there, marquee signing. Harvey Barnes, I think, is a good signing from Leicester as well. Did well in the pretty dismal Leicester side last season. So I think there are some good aspects to their recruitment. They need a bit more, though, in my opinion, and I think once Eddie Howe gets that, he probably gets the squad going once again. Trippier, Botman, Bruno Guimaraes, Alexander Isak, all very good players, and I highly rate all of them. And in my opinion, they're probably good enough to probably bump up 1 more place and cement themselves in the top 4 once again. Now, in 2nd place, and a team I had winning the title last season, and what did Liverpool do? They finished 5th, so not very good for me. So I've got Liverpool finishing 2nd, and mainly that's because their midfield problems have been sorted. They've They've lost Jordan Henderson, James Milner, and looks like it's going to be Fabinho as well, and Naby Keita to add to that list as well. So they've had a massive rebuild in that midfield area. Dominic Szoboszlai has come in, Alexis McAllister's come in, and they're reportedly set to sign, in advanced talks to sign Romeo Lavia from Southampton as well. So it's going to be a massive rebuilding job for Jurgen Klopp, but Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp, it's a perfect match. I think they'll probably rise once again and finish in the top 4 and, probably get themselves in 2nd again. The most obvious pick of them all, and that was Manchester City to finish top of my predictions list. They are a ridiculous machine under Pep Guardiola. They've lost two players who were pretty crucial to them last season, one more so than others, and that was Ilkay Gundogan, who was the captain, and he's gone to sunny Spain and gone to Barcelona. Red Mahrez has also gone, and he's gone to the Saudi League. They've brought in Mateo Kovacic, which is a pretty decent pickup, I want to say. I'm not wholly convinced of Kovacic yet. I think his time as Chelsea was mixed. But Pep Guardiola, it's ridiculous. Erling Haaland, I could genuinely go on. There are some concerns over, core players, leaving. I've said Gundogan, Mahrez, Kyle Walker, maybe his question. There are questions about his future. Bernardo Silva, the same. But generally, the quality is ridiculous, and they will be fine. They'll win the league. Again, quite comfortably for me. So those are my 1-20 predictions for the new 23-24 season. As I said at the start of the video, don't get triggered, don't get offended. If I've put your team a few places below than what you expect, that's all well and good. It's my opinion. I wish your team all the best. I hope they finish as high as they possibly can, and do well for the next season. If you have the balls to do it, put your 1-20 in the comment section below. That'll be better comment than saying my team should have been higher, or my team, you have an agenda against my team. I don't really care. I like all Premier League teams equally. I have no real agenda or favouritism for any of them. So again, put your comments in the comment section below, your thoughts on mine, and more evidently, I want your predictions as well, because that'll be the more helpful comment. So thank you guys very much for watching. Keep safe, and I'll catch you all later. Cheers.